Hello and welcome to another tutorial for ArtRage Studio Pro. Someone over at the ArtRage forums asked how I painted a particular scene that I used in one of my other tutorials. To give you an idea what that was, I'm going to bring that in as a reference image so you can see it. Okay, so here's the image in question, and they wanted to know how I painted the sky and the foliage. Now, the image I had created for that tutorial was actually just thrown together really quick because the tutorial was about how to draw lightning rather than the painting itself. So this technique isn't very difficult. Essentially what you do is you start out with a almost black color, but you want to have a little bit of well, whatever color you're going to use. I'm going to use a kind of a dark blue. And right now I'm using a basic canvas, but I'm going to switch that in a minute. Okay, so I'm using the crayon right now. I'm going to use the crayon predominantly for this tutorial. Okay, so there's my almost black color, and at this point I'm going to tell you the settings I'm using for my crayon. Okay, here's my settings panel up here in the left. As you can see, I have the pressure set to 81 and the softness to 88. Those are general areas. Okay, I adjust these constantly. Okay, so then it's not always 81 and 88. It'll be like 81 and 85 sometimes, so on and so forth. Okay, so you want to set the crayon to somewhere around there. And then we're going to edit the layer texture. Now to do that, you're going to go over to your layer, select that little tab on the lower right of the panel. That opens up your layer menu. And then you're going to select Edit Layer Texture. And that opens up your layer texture panel. Alright. I have this set up as a shortcut, so in the future I'll probably end up just popping it up real quick like this, and you'll probably wonder how the heck did he do that. Just remember, you go over to the layer and select it on the layer panel. Okay. Okay, so here's my layer texture panel. I'm going to turn off the use canvas texture. Okay, so I'm turning that option off, and then I'm going to select paper. Okay, it's already selected because I've been screwing around with it. But, okay, you want to select the paper group and locate the heavy crumpled option. Okay, that's default. Now I had used my own canvas for the image that's in the reference here, but this heavy crumpled I know you all have, so it should work just the same, I think. Okay, it might be a little different, but it'll do the same for our purposes. Okay, so I'm going to select that, and you can see that the roughness is up high, and I'm going to say OK to that. You won't see any physical change, but if I draw on the canvas with, of course, a lighter color, you can see how that is changing according to the new texture. Okay, you can see a lot of breaks in the color. You may also have noticed that since I'm using a pen with pressure, if I push down and draw, okay, I'm getting a nice clean line, okay, with only breaks happening at the edges. But if I go light, okay, I get a broken up texture. Okay, so I can change that by applying pressure. Now, why that's important is because if I start out heavy and then start going light, you can see how it's smearing that color around. Alright, so that's what we're going to use to do our clouds. So I'm just going to pick a color on that reference. And in case anybody's wondering, to pick colors off your canvas or off a reference, you just hold down your Alt key on your keyboard and then tap that area. And you can see that over my color panel there, it's changing depending on where I'm dragging my pen around. Okay. So I just selected that color. Now I could have just as easily just gone over to my panel and selected it there, but for the sake of the tutorial, I was just grabbing it off of that reference. Now, like I said before, I'm just kind of putting a dab somewhere, a heavy dab, and then lightly going back over that dab and pulling the color around. Okay, and that's giving me these different smear effects. So already you can kind of see that I've got a kind of a cloud-looking form going on here. Alright, and I really haven't done that much to this. I'm just dragging that color around. Now if I wanted to soften this, I could use the palette knife. I'd probably use the wet type to do it. And I just kind of tap around. And I'm pretty sure that's what I had done for that reference image here. I probably had a higher drip spike. Yeah, maybe not so high. Okay, so you can see how that is giving you that effect that's in that picture. Alright. Alternatively, I could go back to my layer here, click on the menu, and edit the layer texture back down to like a 0% roughness, and then lightly go back over that with the crayon. Okay, same settings as I had before, about 80 and 80. And just kind of smooth in and around the edges of this. Okay, and I'm just kind of doing little circular areas. Alright, and that'll give you a little more control in terms of where the color breaks are. So if I in particularly if I wanted a dark edge right here, I could just kind of put in a dark line and then go back through here swirling with the pen very lightly. Okay, and that'll add that in. Okay, see how that works. Select the light color, go back into it. Okay, so that's all there is to this. So let's see, next on the list is foliage. How did I do that? Okay, well, same technique. So let's say, let me add in a bright area here, so we'll have something to look at. Let's do this really sloppy and quick, so won't run out of time. Alright, so that's pretty close, okay? Close enough for what I need to show you. So if this is our horizon line, okay, this dark line I just added on there, we want to push some foliage into that. I could again go to edit layer texture, put the roughness up to around 33%. Again, that's all dependent on you. You can increase it or decrease it to whatever your taste might be. Using the crayon at the exact same settings, haven't changed it at all this entire time, I don't believe. I'm just going to lightly go back and forth over that dark line in the bright sky area. And as you can see, it's breaking that up. Alright. And our eye is going to trick us into believing, hey, that looks like foliage as we go. Of course, it would look better if it was like that rather than just this little blob in the middle of my picture. But you get the idea. Okay, so it's less skill on my part and more my eye just tricking me into thinking that it looks like the trees that I'm hoping it does. And you can just kind of decrease the size of the crayon, add some branches, okay, like this. Okay, right now it looks like it's fall. Increase the size again and just kind of dab around that. Suddenly I have branches with leaves on it. And again, I'm picking up color as I go here, just for aesthetic purposes on my own part. Okay, so that's pretty easy. So if I want a pine tree, I just decrease the size, draw a line up here, just kind of pull away from the center, tap and pull, tap and pull, tap and pull. Okay, so that's really all there is to this. Let's see. So the only real difference between what you're looking at here and the reference image at this point, aside from the fact that I had water in the reference image, is a variance in colors, and I had only not shown that in the tutorial because of time restraint. I just wanted to try to quickly show you the technique involved rather than adding color and all that. But if you wanted different colors in there, you'd basically just select, say you want this luminance right here. You can click on that, then drag your color picker around, and then add that color in. Okay, so now I'm at the same luminance as I was over here, but I'm adding a kind of a green hue. Okay, and I can just kind of smear that in, and then I can say, okay, I want more of a purple color over here. Okay, add that in there. More red down in the corner here. Put that in over there. Okay, and that's really it. Then you just kind of smear it around until you're happy with whatever color choices you're planning to use. Okay, so those are basically the techniques I use, and it's really a technique. Okay, it's just the crayon smearing everything around and me changing the texture so that it works out for me. So at this point, I'm just going to play you at an accelerated rate a painting so that you can see how that works out in the end. Alright, and again, I might use a palette knife here or there to blend some things, but for the most part it'll be crayon. Okay, enjoy the show.